Hello, 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 boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? Welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Oh, it's raining today. Icky outside. Perfect day to sit inside and play some video games though. Right, let's see where we get to. Let's turn the tunes down just a little bit. 3 days off streaming and I feel like a different person, genuinely. Haircut, shirt and all. Yes. The summer kit is on. Summer kit is a go-go. I have no idea what we are doing in game and what is the plan for today. I think today is going to be, considering it's Monday, it's going to be a let's just figure shit out kind of day. Wednesday, we get TBC time walking. Wednesday is going to be the day account number 6 comes out again, and we get all of these dudes up to 80. When we look at the levels that we've got, like just doing some rare killing in the Undermine for a few days. Well, it's been a little bit more than a few days now, hasn't it? But like, it's starting to push. We're level 72's like the absolute lowest. Nearly everybody is like pushing some bigger numbers, which is kind of cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, it is still 21 teams. It looked less when I was scrolling. It looked less names. First things first, we need to make sure our alchemists get their daily patron orders done. We need 3 bonus flickers first thing this morning. We'll probably just do a little bit of rare killing today. There's also part of me that wants to take a little bit of a look at a tool called Flipping Pal. Friend of the stream, content creator, and fellow Australian. I'm not Australian. An Australian by the name of Boofy has a little tool that he's developed to help with flipping that I've said I'd have a little bit of a look at. He gave me access to have a look at it a while ago, but I was full of the flu, so my brain wasn't doing anything particularly new or exciting, but today we've got an opportunity to have a look at it. Mr. Goldson, welcome in. Good morning. Let's get some patron orders done on these guys. They're getting there. How are we doing with thaumaturgy? 39 knowledge points. We need 75 to fill these trees, and then we're good to go. I can't remember what these ones do. Increases your skill in thaumaturgy and mercurial transmutations by 1. You may discover mercurial transmutations by performing thaumaturgy on mercurial transmutagens. You now may discover mercurial transmutagens by performing thaumaturgy. You have a chance to receive additional mercurial transmutagen when performing acts of thaumaturgy. That's vital because it's actually the transmutagens that you get that you tend to be able to spin into the profit. So that's absolutely mandatory on all 3 nodes. So what's that? 10 points in every node is definitely needed. Gain 5 skill. You have a chance to receive additional mercurial transmutagen. Oh, there we go. 20 points in each one becomes absolutely mandatory. And acts of thaumaturgy with mercurial materials now yield a small amount of ominous transmutagen. Okay, so the whole system doesn't work until we got 25 points in each one of these. We are not pressing we are not doing any mass thaumaturgy until we've got 75 points here. Otherwise, we are going to be underperforming relative to everybody else that does have those points. And markets are usually skinny enough that that makes a world of difference. So we do need the full 75 before we can go any further. Good weekend. Looking forward to today's stream. This weekend was busy, man. Oh, my days. Like, we had so much going on this weekend. I'm hoping that we've got it all out of the way and I can have a few weeks where the weekends are a bit more chill, because this one was crazy. The wife decided that with a 4-day weekend, she was going to fill it with stuff. Thursday, obviously we did stream on Thursday, but I then had flipping gardening work on the go for the rest of Thursday. Friday we had pellets turn up. I was stopping by Mr. Goldson's stream actually on Friday for a little while in between some IRL stuff. My whole studio has this kind of wood aroma to it today. It's a bit weird. It lasts for about a week after we fill the silo. This wall behind me is actually a silo. Behind it is a silo, and it's full with now 7 tons of pellets. So it kind of there's a bit of a woody aroma in here. Nothing I can do about at the moment, but that was Friday's adventure. Saturday we had we went to visit friends on Saturday. Saturday was actually a nice day. Saturday was a nice relaxing day, a few beers, sun was out, oh boy, it was nice. And yesterday we had a family party that we had to attend to, so that was kind of like one of those 50-50 events. But once again, bit of sun, bit of barbecue, wasn't too bad. But it meant that I need a weekend to recover from the weekend. Well, that's how it feels at least. I love the smell of wood, or is it not the good kind of smell? No, it's kind of like... or because it's the wood pellets, they get compressed and it's all the dust, it's the wood dust. It's not kind of like super, it's not the nice woody smell. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. It lasts a few days and then it goes away. Well, if I have the windows open and the aircon on, it goes away. But luckily, this is not smell-o-vision, so you'll be fine. No, we do not burn the finest hickory or cedar to become pellets, unfortunately. It's it's the offcuts of wood and stuff that end up being made into pellets, so it's not the nice smelly kind. I've also changed the music playlist today. It's a little bit more drum and bassy. But I do hope it stays in the background. Now, obviously, Team YouTube, you don't have to worry too much about the music. But for Team Twitch, let me know if it gets too thumpy, and we can change it back to something a little bit more casual. Not prospecting. Craft Sim Q. Is that all we needed? Oh, we got yesterday's knowledge points. Right, get this dude done and then go, wait. Did we not get everything we needed? Ah, no, we didn't get anything. Whoops, let's try that again. But I do hope everybody had a good weekend themselves. I don't know if much happened in WoW over the weekend. Did it? Have we missed any news? Have we got to play catch up on anything? I don't think a PTR or anything interesting dropped over the weekend. WoW or Blizzard have had this kind of habit for the last few months of dropping something on a Friday evening, and I'm like, Blizzard, please. I mean, it's kind of good for people who live life in a more regular fashion, where the weekend is the time off and can absorb that sort of stuff. Oh, no, he did get the flickers. But when I try to keep relatively strictly to a Monday to Friday routine, when they drop something late on a Friday, I'm like, damn. But at least, to my knowledge, we didn't get anything. When does Mr. Pandaria come out, by the way? Mop's out. Is it this month? We've got some new trading poster stuff to look at, actually, by the looks of things. New trading post could be good. Right, 45 points. Nearly 2/3 of the way there. Nearly 2/3 of the way there. Oh, we should probably do a daily transmutagen on something cheap anyway, even though we're not super good at it yet, but just because for the daily bonus gleamings and, you know, might get lucky from time to time. Harvest some first-time crafts like that, for example. Get our first-time craft on a blasphemite. It's an extra knowledge point. 46. I like how Blizzard won't add time onto my account to check my mail for sold auctions as my WoW time ran out. They tend to, yeah, it has been known that you've been able to, like, message Blizzard customer service and they'll give you, like, 24 hours of access if you need to, like, do something significant or serious in the game. But just for the purposes of checking your auctions, I don't think they're going to see that as a worthwhile reason to give you a free day. Otherwise, people would abuse it and do it every day. Oh, hush me. Or every month. You know, the generosity should be dished out, sparingly. If the items in your mailbox from your either expired auctions or whatever are worth enough to you, then you might want to consider throwing a month of game time on it yourself to clear it out. But yeah, it is at their discretion at the end of the day. The biggest WoW news for WoW I had this weekend was WeCore is forcing the Pride flag into everybody's add-on. Oh, it's Pride Month, isn't it now? Is it Pride Month this month? June? I can never remember. Yeah, you'll see a lot of rainbows knocking about, I'd imagine. Whoa, that coffee's hot. Blimey. Let's grab a list for those. I'm not bothered because I like rainbows. They're colourful. It's pretty simple in my mind. Right, we've got those. Clearly people phasing. What are you? Start to get hot. It's going to be 34 degrees this week. Lord have mercy. Yeah, 34 is pretty toasty, eh? I think it was about 22 degrees here yesterday. Obviously a little bit more if you're sat in the sun. I did catch the sun a little bit. My forehead got a little bit toasty, or my 5-head these days. But it was nice to see the sun. 34 on the other hand though is that's a stay inside kind of heat. That's getting pretty spicy. Oh, I'm still missing some gleaming to do a first craft on blasphemites. That'll have to wait then. We should have got some knowledge points over here. Hopefully these dudes are all keeping roughly in line. Yeah, roughly. You spot the doggo, can you? Oh, she's doing a scratch. What are you doing, Nibses? Hey! Stream says hi. Stream says hi. The other one is lurking over here. She's gone back to lie on my feet. Right, 44. Yeah, nearly 2/3 of the way there. I'd say about another week until we can start using these alchemists for their intended purpose. Which would be nice when they're actually up and running. It's just a little mini adventure so that we have them for when we need them. Just like the jewel crafters. They're not going to be put to work all that often, but when the profit is there, we can put them to work quickly, and we can put them to work in the background, which is the most important thing for me. Taking advantage of when prospecting is profitable, or taking advantage of when thaumaturgy is profitable, but doing it in a way that doesn't get in the way of our regular playing is nice. I do have so many tabs open. How many WoW accounts do you have? I've got 6 running right now. This very second, only 5 of them are up and running, but I've got a 6th that's active. Yeah, you can see here, there's like my main account that's got my main characters on it, and my main crafters and whatever, and then 4 bonus accounts up and running at the moment, all setting up doing certain things. Right, that should be all of that bought. We're setting up a thaumaturgy character on each account right now, so that when thaumaturgy is good, we can do it speedy or en masse. Not exactly cheap to set these characters up though. I think I must have spent the best part of 80k on each one of these so far, maybe even a little bit more considering the patron orders we're doing every day, just to get them their knowledge points. I was thinking about something yesterday, day before, when I was doing these catch-up points, and I'm somewhat of the opinion that the catch-up system that we now have feels worse than not having a catch-up system in Dragonflight. And let me try and explain that sort of weird statement. When we didn't have a catch-up system in Dragonflight, we had a list of like roughly 12 to 15 knowledge points that you could get with each character, but it was entirely a weekly thing, right? So you could log on to that character and you could spend half an hour, 45 minutes on that character, and you could go around and you could do a few things, and you could get your 12 to 15 knowledge points for the week, and you would know that that character was kind of done for the week, right? You could be content in knowing that you spent a little bit of time, you got them their knowledge points, and they were good. Now, with the catch-up system, you have probably half as many knowledge points that are sort of guaranteed knowledge points, but even those aren't really that guaranteed because they're still built into patron orders. Plus, if you want any of the catch-up, you have to log in every single day. So no longer can you... And if you don't log in for that day, you just miss out on that catch-up opportunity. So it's catch-up, but you have to log into the character every day. Only if you log in on that character 7 times a week do you get the catch-up. Whereas if you don't do that, you don't really get that much. It just feels weird. It feels weird how the catch-up system we have now feels worse than not having a catch-up system in Dragonflight. It heavily incentivizes daily logins rather than allowing you to sort of like say, boom, let's go spend an hour on this character, get him his profession stuff done. Because let's be real, if these are alts for you, if they are alts, most people don't log on to their alts every single day. Most people will play an alt once or twice a week and do some of the basic stuff on that alt by virtue of it being an alt. Even your main character, you may not necessarily log into every single day, which is where I think Blizzard should probably reevaluate it, because it's weird that the catch-up system feels worse than not having the catch-up system. Or go the enchanting route. Yeah, that's the other option, just going with the enchanting route. Have you ever thought about using open boxing software for the WoW screen layout, just not the multi-boxing tools? No, you got to be very careful with stuff like that. If you read the T's and C's within if you read the terms and conditions on multi-account usage, you're not strictly allowed to use any software that facilitates an easier time with multi-boxing. I can't remember the exact phrase they use, but they're very clear that you shouldn't be using any of that sort of stuff. I use a little Windows plugin that allows, basically, this is just the Windows snapping software, right? So this is just basic core Windows snapping. I use the keybinds to move the screens around quickly and easily. And there's a little plugin for Windows called Fancy Zones, which allows you to create more customized zones. Because the default Windows ones, if you look, are kind of like half or quarter screens. I wanted to squeeze a little bit more in, so you can use a plugin for Windows called Fancy Zones. But that is as far as I'm willing to go, because when you start using the actual multi-boxing software, that's kind of not necessarily allowed. I can't remember the exact phrasing on it, but, you know, I'd rather not risk it. Part of Power Toys, yeah, there we go. Now, not that I would ever suspect that you'd actually get banned for using a little bit of a screen layout piece of software, but you never really know what Warden's looking for. And if it's known multi-boxing software that has functionality that is against the TOS, you never necessarily know if that whole piece of software is then just blacklisted in Blizzard's eyes. And if I'm honest, I don't want to risk it. But yeah, if they did go the direction of having something like enchanting, I mean, I've always wondered why they don't just let you continuously blast through patron orders. Because let's not forget, even the patron orders that come with catch-up are not free. So you've initially got the downside of that you only get 3 catch-up points a day, a maximum of 21 if you log in every single day. So that's your upper limit on catch-up, is still only 21 points a week, which isn't a huge amount. When most nodes in a spec tree, most of the nodes here are like at 20, 30 points minimum. So you can maybe catch up 1 node a week, even if you min-max your catch-up. And then, not to mention, most of your flickers are not exactly free, right? It's costing me 1,000 gold a day per alchemist just to play the catch-up game right now, which I also think is like, you can have, there's too many negatives to the system without enough positives. It's a little bit imbalanced in that regard. Flickers should last 7 days, in my opinion. I'm thinking that is probably the quickest and the easiest fix. That if every flicker order just has a 7-day timer on it, meaning that you could, in theory, then log in once or twice a week and still catch them all, rather than them only having a 24-hour timer on them, meaning that you either get them or you don't, which has always felt pretty harsh as a catch-up system, to be honest. Gotta catch them all. Yeah, it is Pokemon-esque for sure. 72 more knowledge points to have alchemy full on my character. You could get that done in about 2-3 weeks, I reckon. So you're not far off. Not far off. Went from 0 to max on enchanting in 1 sitting. Was a large upfront cost, but it was nice to just be done. It's unfortunate you can't do it with all the professions. Yeah, either something more in tune with how enchanting has it, where there's something that you can just continuously do. And I don't mind if that continuous activity comes at a price, but the fact that you can if you want to, that's kind of the point, right? That you can catch up if you want to. Nobody's ever said catch up needs to be free. But if catch up is going to be time gated, then they need to consider, is a daily time gating on it the right way? I'm not sure. You know what I missed on your YouTube guides? I needed a cooking guide to get max. Yeah, I never did cooking. They changed cooking very, very, very last minute in the beta. They completely changed how cooking worked. And it annoyed me because the way that they had cooking set throughout all of the alpha and the beta was that all of the smaller food went into the bigger food, and the bigger food went into the larger food, and the larger food went into the feasts. So it was like this pyramid stepping stone system for crafting stuff. Then what that meant was that every step of the process there'd be a little bit of profit, because of how the auction house takes that 5% cut. So if you went full vertical integration with your cooking and you made the basic foods to turn them into the next level foods, and the next level foods into the larger foods, and the larger foods into the feasts, if you did the whole process, it should have meant that there would have been a nice sort of like 15 to 20% profit on doing that nearly at all times, which would have meant that cooking for the first time in a long time would have actually not just been a massive time sink. Then they changed it about 2 days before the expansion launched, and I was like, right, well, you've just made it boring again now, so screw you, cooking. And so I've not leveled cooking at all on any character this entire expansion. I've just ignored it completely. Did you fill up the silo storage with pellets, or was it in 10 kg bags again? No, luckily we pay a little bit extra now for the van to turn up. A massive great big lorry turns up and just like blasts them all into the top of the silo. So we don't have to do the manual labour as such, but it's a bit of a messy adventure. Coats half of our garden in wood chip dust, which is a touch annoying, but it's now raining, so luckily all that should get washed away. And in some regards, I'm sure it's good for the plants. I'm losing track of what I've done. I clearly haven't done the public... Which account is this? This is account number 4. This is account number 4. Spending too much time going off on TED Talks. Why is it not queuing orders? Oh, that's why. These are just the artisan security ones that nobody cares about anymore. Okay, that's fine. Did I get my knowledge points out on this dude? Not that it matters too much if they live in the mailbox, but it's nice to see what our total gets to. Cooking's good for mostly AFK crafting, and you can make some good profit with it, so I'm going to try it. Yeah, I'm quite sure you still can, but it's on that same vein. It wouldn't be something I'd want to do on my main account, because it is an awful lot of like semi-AFK business for which will lock up. In my opinion, that locks up your entire account, so I'd never really want to do that on my main character. If I look... Yeah, cooking's still skill 1 out of 100. I used to keep up with cooking. I used to keep up with cooking a lot, but in the last couple of expansions, I've not really bothered. I've got cooking maxed on every other expansion, but Dragon Isles and both Dragon Isles and the War Within, I've not bothered with cooking. I don't have... Yeah, I need to get some tools and maybe level it up. Maybe it's something we can do on a random day where we've not got much else going on. But right, these alchemists are good. Let's log you out. Fat pandas only. Well, that's also true. You should kind of be using a panda to do it properly as well. Welcome in, Woo, by the way. I hope you had a nice... parcel delivered on Saturday. Is the augment rune from the raid usable in the next patch? Like a reusable augment rune, or is it just for the raiders? Well, it's historically, they do allow players to earn and then buy a permanent augment rune in the last raid tier. But if it's anything like Dragonflight, you have to get exalted with whatever the 0.2 faction is. And you then had to pay, I think, 100,000 gold to buy the damn thing. So it was kind of expensive in the first place. Some people probably wouldn't have got enough use out of it to justify the 100k, so they still buy the basic ones off the auction house, if that's what you're getting at. Got to get tinkering though. Realised I need a new power supply too, so that arrived last night. I know the recommendations for the 5080 graphics cards is that you have an 850 watt power supply. Mine's only 750, and it's happy, but it's quite a high efficiency 750 watt power supply. So I didn't want to change it all because changing a power supply is a pain in the ass. Because you've got to rip out all the cables and start again, and I can't be bothered. Yeah, 651 is going to start being a bit risky. My 5080, when it's going full belt, full tilt, is pulling about 340 watts. So 650 might get a little bit risky depending on what your processor is as well. Main problem with the patron order catch-up is that if you want a specific setup, say on 3 separate jewel crafters, a gem cutter, a ring neck master, and a prospector, seemingly all patron orders are for the gems. Yeah, it's definitely true that the patron orders are designed to favour a certain path within each of the professions. Thaumaturgy alchemists, for example, have a really hard time because everything is designed for like potions or flasks. And even actually when I leveled flasks at the beginning of the expansion, the patron orders were annoying then because they were all for potions for the most part. So it was a bit difficult. There's 100k on the last season. Those 100k are more expensive than the beginning of the expansion. Well, what augment runes were at the beginning? I remember augment runes being 2k plus. I don't really remember them being too much more than that, but they might have been. I can't remember. I can't remember what we were selling the augment runes for at the beginning of the expansion. I lose track of time these days. Right, we can log these dudes out. I need to actually, while we are on the patron order grind, get a couple done on my main crafters, because my main crafters are still slacking. Haven't used an augment rune yet. It's one expensive right click. Yeah, I personally don't have any reason to use them ever. But considering the patron orders dish them out occasionally, I'm content with selling them. Get rid of tally, we don't need that there for the minute. I tend to bang out the profitable ones, and even if they're not profitable, I'll consider them if they give knowledge points. It's 100 gold for a knowledge point. Kind of balances out so that I'm slowly chipping away without it really costing me anything other than the effort of logging in every day. Have people been leveling their past expansion professions? People keeping on top of that in preparation for housing? What are we missing there? We're not doing that. What, a 3,500 gold order at this point in the expansion? Not happening. There might come a point where we try and make sure we've got everything finished from the past expansions. It's weird because I've got some of the professions I've got split across a couple of characters. There's part of me that's almost tempted to level them up again, just so they're all on the same characters. Null stones, is that all we needed? Oh, asking if it would be worth investing in them now or holding off a bit. I guess I'll hold. I still suspect at the beginning of next season, Augment Runes will take a bump in price. Even if they do add a permanent one, there'll still be a large amount of people that won't want to pay the permanent one price and will buy them individually. Augment Runes are pretty solid, generally. You do have to kind of wait and hedge your bets a bit, but there is always a point where they do go up at least a bit. I'd imagine you can probably make about 30% return on Augment Runes quite comfortably, because let's say they sit at 1,500 gold a piece now. Is that what they are, roughly? I've got 11 just lying about in my bags. Okay, they've dipped a little bit now. Wow, they're as low as 1,200 gold right now. That's probably because there's a bit of a gold rush on these right now, actually. Those who are high enough with the raid renown can take their level 80 characters in and potentially get 1, 2, maybe 3 Augment Runes for free per level 80 character that they have. At the moment, which is why Augment Runes have taken a bit of a dip this week, and they might stay a little bit cheaper for a little while. But that's not to say that they won't bump up again next patch when everybody actually starts wanting them for the new raid. Not next, 11.17 is next. I'm talking about the next season would be a better phrase to use. I'll just sit on them for a while now. Whichever ones I get, we'll sell them again when Season 3 starts. Whatever the price is then. I don't worry about them too much because the ones I have lying around are just kind of ones I've got from patron orders. But investing in them, you'd probably want to think a little bit more carefully. But I still think they're a relatively solid bet. We're probably getting to that point, you know, where it's almost investment time. I haven't quite thought about it. I think when 11.17 launches, we'll get 11.17 and then we'll very shortly after start getting info about 11.2. When that happens, that's probably then the absolute rock bottom price for near enough everything, I would guess. Educated guess. I think in leatherworking, I'm just stacking up the points now. I don't really need to spend them anywhere. I've nearly got this tree finished though. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, I'm 3/4 of the way through finishing the male part of leatherworking completely. Then it's just the outer ring of leather, and leatherworking's done. I'm still going to be, it'll still take me to the end of the expansion to do that, but jewel crafting, we're on 20, 40, 60, we got 51. We can nearly fill out another colour in its entirety. I wonder if this is fake or they meant to type 226 euros instead of SEK. Oh, it won't let me log in unless I prove I'm not a robot. Oh, let me do a flipping FCCUUE. Oh, it doesn't even show me a price. Yeah, it doesn't even show me a price. Probably need to be logged in. But yeah, 226 sec is like basically free. Sat on 80 runes right now, they're 1.1k. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's at the end of the day, what's that? Let's call it 100k, quick maths. You might as well just sit on them, because it'll either be 100k now or 150 to 200k in season 3. Or worst case, what, they tank even further and you only get 80k? You're basically only risking about 20k in waiting. And I'd say waiting to potentially double your money is fair enough. Ordered it anyway. A fluke for 27 euros. Losing money not buying it. Always thinking. Always thinking. Dark Moon Fair's up. Go grab your skill knowledge points for alts if needed. Yeah, it's too much like hard work, the Dark Moon Fair, for like 3 points. But yeah, I can just log in and do patron orders for a day for the equivalent. But yeah, worth paying attention to if you're like really close to finishing them. Let me check my other characters quickly. I have a hard time bothering with my main crafters. Yeah, never mind alts. There's been enough knowledge points available to finish blacksmithing this week. Woo! Some people will finally... In fact, I'm pretty sure a few people have already told me they've finished blacksmithing. I don't know what the scenario is with that, but I think it's... I'm literally on my blacksmith right now. I do know a few people who've said that they are basically there. I am absolutely not. I've not touched the armor smithing tree yet. So to have not touched this, I am miles behind. What are these? 25 a piece? There's 100, 200, 225 just on the outer ring. 30, 60, 90, 300 plus, 360, give or take. Yeah, I am flipping miles behind. I need 100 to fill this last bit out, and I'm on 68. Blacksmithing's one of those that takes the piss with the price a lot of the time. These 2,000 gold orders for a single flicker turn up nearly every day. And that is a real swizz. That is assuming you're even able to do the orders half the time, yeah. That's a knowledge point for like 80 gold. Blacksmithing, I can't turn that down, unfortunately. No, that's not the right mount. I'm used to the auction house one being on the end. Tailoring and enchanting's done. Nice not having to farm rares like in Dragonflight. Excuse me. Yeah, I was saying a little bit earlier that even though we have a catch-up system, this expansion, in my opinion, it feels worse than not having one, like we did in Dragonflight. At least in Dragonflight, I knew that as long as some point in the week I logged on to a character and spent the 20 minutes, half an hour flying around, killing rares, whatever. At least I knew in Dragonflight that it's something I could log on. It was a weekly task, and as long as I did it during the week, I'd keep the characters up to speed. Now the catch-up being on a daily login, if you fall behind, it actually feels like you just end up giving yourself more work to catch up than it would have been to do it in the first place, if that makes sense, you know, which is also slightly weird. That the catch-up feels worse than not having the catch-up. The catch-up is like a second job. Yeah. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. It's just 20 minutes every day that we just have to press a few buttons quickly. Luckily, CraftSim makes the process very easy, so. Welcome in, Lady Daisy. Good morning, good morning. Oh, frames. Frames. Give me frames. There we go. Can you still get Dragon Shards of Knowledge to drop? Yeah, they still drop. They're still just as annoying to farm, though. Fun fact, I still have blacksmithing to finish leveling in Dragonflight. I still never quite finished every node in Dragonflight. And of course, herbalism and mining and skinning, because there's nobody messing around with those. There is part of me that is weirdly tempted to try and level herbalism and mining in Dragonflight. Mostly us, if we do not have a stat squish going into midnight, and we have a similar crafting system to what we have now, there's a strong chance that our midnight tools, by the time you take them back to... I mean, it's already a little bit broken when you take the War Within profession tools back into Dragonflight. But if we get a third step on that pyramid, if you can go from take your midnight profession tools all the way back to Dragonflight content, that's going to be silly mode squared, which could be quite amusing, especially from the purpose of farming, because weirdly there are some herbs and ore that are still cash monies to farm. Mr. Norton, how we doing? Welcome in. The War Within ones work in Dragonflight. Yeah. If you take your War Within profession tools and go do Dragonflight professions with them, the amount of resourcefulness and multicraft you get from the new tools makes your Dragonflight crafts just go loopy. And much the same for farming. If you go back and start farming some of the materials from Dragonflight with profession tools from the War Within, you get so much more like finesse and deftness and stuff. It's just actually a bit silly. Right, let's get tailoring done quickly on this dude. What's quite funny is most tailoring orders end up being profitable because they cost so little in the first place. Famous last words. Oh, gold. I can't be bothered to get the materials for 1 knowledge point to make a hat. Right, you're done. Wonder how much more you'd get Ceravite compared to Bismuth with current tools. I've not done it much because my herbalist and miner characters from the 2 expansions are actually different characters, which is why I've considered taking my farming character from the War Within back into Dragonflight and leveling it up. But my distaste towards farming in general has kind of put me off that, even though I know you can do some silly things with it. I showcased it on stream for a while that you can do some silly things with inscription, for example. All the milling and the herbing. We actually flipped Dragonflight Fortune cards for a while. It took quite a lot of time to do it, but it was profitable to do, very profitable to do. All based upon the fact that your crafting stats go bananas when you take your current tools into the old expansion. How many of these do we want to do? Flicker, Artisan Security, but profitable. Well, we'll do all of those. Craft sim. Yoink. So this is my main alchemist, who also went Thaumaturgy to begin with, and is slowly been grinding away at getting potions and flasks done, but real slowly. We are capped on potions in here, but I'm still filling out the herbs over here. And then we've got the flask tree still to fill. Is Thaumaturgy money, cash money today? Out of curiosity. I mean, it's usually cash money. There's maybe some room to move in here. Nothing's technically within nice profit margins. There's still wiggle room in my maths on this because of resourcefulness. But I'd say there's not much going on with Thaumaturgy right now. Mycobloom, you certainly can't buy enough to make it profitable to flip Mycobloom today. Gloom chitin, there's plenty of it there, but it could do with being a little bit cheaper than that. Or some of the stuff it makes could do with being a little bit more expensive. Bit of risk involved in doing Thaumaturgy right now on any of the common candidates. But there's plenty of stock though, mind. There's plenty of stock knocking around at like basically profitable points. It'd be nice if these were sub 100. Then you could guarantee that there's profit in them. I left wiggle room in my calculation for resourcefulness. And I actually think my numbers are based upon not having Bountiful Seasons Flask. I think if you have the Bountiful Seasons Flask, you can minus like 5% off these, roughly. So do we have any points here? Keep filling, orbing it out until it's done. All right, let's go check engineering. It's the last one to do patron orders on for today. Oh, and they're both for Artisan Security. There's only one knowledge point to be had here. Doing any prospecting today? Are you happy with the numbers? I know last time you told it's AFK crafting while you play your main. Anything over a K is good. Yeah, we'll run some prospecting numbers in a minute and have a look. I'm starting to look at, for the prospectors, now that I've got them actually properly set up, I'm starting to look at what point during the week it's best to buy ore, and we'll utilize the fact that we have pretty deep pockets, and we'll just buy a metric ton of ore on the 4 characters, and then we can prospect it in the background, and then we can sell the gems when it's more profitable to sell the gems. Taking rather than like a minute by minute approach, more of a long tail approach to it. But I actually noticed yesterday there's so much baiting on the prices of the ore that it's actually affecting the third party websites that track the prices of stuff, because they also seem to not be immune to accidentally pulling a bait price on something, which I thought is quite amusing. That the lowball bait auctions are now so consistent for so much of the day that they're actually swaying the data, which is crazy. Twitch is starting with vertical streaming. Vertical streaming's an interesting one for me, you know. I can't get my head around it. I'm clearly too boomer for this whole scenario. I don't get vertical streaming. Now, if you can make the content work, sure, but I think there's a very limited, well, I say very limited clientele for vertical streaming, but TikTok has clearly proven that it's not that limited. I also can't quite figure out who is the kind of person. I get flicking through TikTok, I get flicking through Instagram Reels. If you're into a bit of doom scrolling, I get it. We're all guilty of it from time to time. But what I don't get is watching a live stream in vertical. Like at that point, just turn your phone round, Christ. Like, doom scrolling portrait makes sense because you need your thumb to be flicking, right? But when you're watching something 16 by 9, motherfucker, please turn your phone round. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. There's a reason why we don't have portrait TVs, you know? And don't nobody point out that stupid 55-inch curved Samsung one that goes portrait. It's not the norm. Before anybody, you know. But yes, Twitch starting vertical streaming is interesting. Maybe we'll just have to do it. Like maybe we're missing a market there. Maybe we're missing a market. Maybe we should be streaming to TikTok. Maybe we should be streaming to Instagram. Maybe we should be streaming to Twitch, also in vertical mode for those who are vertically inclined. Maybe we should just put it out there, and if people, you know, let people do their thing. But it doesn't sit right in my brain. Clearly far too boomer. Oh, we wanted to look at prospecting, didn't we? See if there's any money in prospecting. Let's log the prospectors on. Let me get my sheet. So I've this is not finished by any means, which is why I've not shared it yet. But I have been working on a pretty detailed prospecting calculator sheet to be able to quickly at a glance see when stuff is profitable. It's based on not a huge amount of prospecting data. That's the issue. I've not done bismuth at all yet, so I don't have anything for bismuth. But I've been collecting some results for iron claw and akirite. 10,000 of each ore so far I've got data for, so the numbers are not 100% statistically accurate, but are pretty damn close, I would imagine.
Let's make sweet
I also then have
together.
a mini calculator that can quickly take a auctionator shopping scan and say, hey, you might want to look at doing something with this. And I've done some fancy maths. One of the things I wanted to do with this sheet as well, because of things like the bountiful vial, sometimes working, sometimes not working, I wanted to make sure that you have the ability to specify what your resourcefulness is, and all of the maths is done. All of the maths is done to account for a change in resourcefulness number. So when I did all of this data, for example, this is what I'd consider raw prospecting data. This is the results you get with zero resourcefulness taken into consideration. So then you can stack the resourcefulness maths on top of it, which makes the data collection even more annoying to get, because you have to be very careful how you do it, and you can't use mass salvage assist. So this was a lot of time putting a stack in, break it down, put a stack in, breaking it down. So the data was annoying, but it means I can now say, oh, okay, well, it's not bountiful season anymore, of which it's going to not be for very long. Well, in that case, then we go back to 21 resourcefulness, and all of the maths changes throughout the entire sheet. But let's slam in some numbers from Auctioneer and see if there's any money to be made in prospecting today. Let's grab a scan. Prospecting. Alphabetize it so it's in the right order. Export results. Copy that. Slam that in here. Split it across the columns. And then we go in and we change where any of the bait prices are. Crix, by the way, thank you very much for the tier 1. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My alerts are not going off in my ears for some reason today. I nearly missed that. I need to try and fix that. What do you call a druid fighting in Treant form? Combat log? Lol. Love that. Combat log. I've not actually heard that one before. That's quite clever. Right, let's change where these bait auctions are. What I have added is some interest. I've tried to figure out what the breakpoint is for the materials as well. So you can say it's profitable to prospect up to this value. But let's fix where the clear and obvious baits are. Let's check what is 10,000 akirite at quality 1. That's actually 7 gold, 72. So we do override and we go 7 gold, 72. And we can see all of a sudden it's not profitable. This is the thing that is gross about this. These bait auctions are clearly simultaneously linked with players who are simultaneously linked with players that are also auto-sniping the bait auctions, and then they're just shipping that material off to things like prospecting. And it's happening so often and so frequently that it's actually pretty much pulling the price of everything below profitable even for anybody else. 774. 774 if we wanted to buy any reasonable amount of quality 2. And quality 3, we're looking at 9 gold and 9. If we want any reasonable amount. So that actually, interestingly, means that there's a bit of profit to be had in a Kyrite. It's only 4% though. It's profitable up until 9 gold 46 by current calculations, as long as things like the pebbles and the glass and the pebbles, glass and the gems aren't being too scumbagged in price. They should be there or thereabouts, 40 gold a piece. Yeah, they don't seem to be subject to bait prices on those. Pebbles are down to like 12 silver a piece again. If I find somebody bait auctioning, I make sure they know they're pathetic. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Yeah. Yep. It's such a scumbag move. It really is. Such a scumbag move. Let me check Iron Claw, because these numbers are clearly broken as well. It looks like there's a bait auction going on Iron Claw quality 1. There's no way there's 20% margin in Iron Claw quality 1. To buy 10,000 of it, you're actually looking at 7 gold 20. Which pushes it to break-even values. Check Iron Claw quality 2 quickly, 759. If you want to be buying it in any quantity. And then quality 3 is 945. So yeah. There is a smidge of profit to be made in a Kyrite quality 3 potentially. Let me... 9 gold and 9. We can buy 10,000 of that, but the next 10,000 is going to go up quite some. By that lot. Then the Kyrite is going to be above profitability, and that's actually all I'm willing to throw money at now. So we'll only have 2 of our dudes up and running right now. Iron Claw's not profitable at all. I don't have data on bismuth, but my suspicion is that bismuth is basically never what you're prospecting these days. Bismuth is used in too many other things for its price to ever get low enough to be prospected, is my assumption. So we'll pop a vial. Oh, and I also wanted to showcase that now we've got... now we have the luxury when we're prospecting that we get 26% resourcefulness because of the Bountiful Seasons buff. But if we didn't have that, it comes down to 21%. I've made it so that you could change this to 21%, and boom, all of the numbers and all of the maths automatically changes. It's interesting, actually, that the resourcefulness buff doesn't make a huge amount of difference to the overall, but it does make a difference. It makes enough of a difference to take things from, you know, not being profitable to profitable. So while it is possible to use, you should definitely make sure you use it for as long as this still lasts. We're going to switch back into we're going to switch into summer mode soon, which is finesse, not resourcefulness, so it's going to stop being useful soon. Right, can we set this to Go Go Gadget Go? Let's set that to Go Go Gadget Go. No, because this account apparently doesn't have Mass Salvage Assist on, because last time I used it was for data gathering. Mass salvage assist. Where's it gone? Mass salvage assist. Any goblin opportunities in 11.17, or do we need to wait till season 3? I mean, there's always little bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere, but for the most part, I would say that setting your sights on season 3 is the smart thing to do. All right, let's get that smushed. Is the calculated time within our bountiful? It is, yes, so we can let that do its thing. Let's repeat the same over here. Let's make sure I've got the add-on switched on. There's not anything that I can pinpoint as something that's impactful for 11.17. Yeah, I can't think of anything particular off the top of my head. One thing I will say is we're getting the Diablo 4 crossover event, which is spawning portals from killing the rares in the Undermine, which might have some effect on the Mechanica farm. But in terms of it will inject more interest in the zone again, making it slightly more difficult to find shards where the rares are up to do the killing on, would be my... Oh, we're doing this without a buff. But the impact of that, I'm not sure. Sold the 4th Mechanica mount today, 5.5 mil so far, but they're getting cheap though now. I've basically seen the prices almost bottom out. It feels like the prices are bottoming out on this Mechanica stuff. I'm not tracking the weekly supply like some other people are. I know Woo has been tracking some stuff, and I know K-Chak has been tracking a few bits and pieces. I've, to be honest, relied on their better instincts on this sort of stuff, but it seems like the price has kind of hit a floor to where there is a combination of people just not willing to farm them out as aggressively as they once have, meaning there's slightly less of them being injected into the market. But also I've seen a real slowdown on the amount of people, on the amount of sales. I'm now only selling a couple of pets and mounts a week. I'm not even selling as much as I'm farming, I don't think, right now. I would also state that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've gone 5 days this week without doing the Mechanica farm in the Undermine. So my mailbox is going to be basically empty this week. I'm going to be doing a little bit of this in a minute, I think, as well, but the reality for me is I'm pretty convinced the prices have basically bottomed out. They're still a pain in the ass to farm up. The only thing that will make a difference is when people get bored of doing it and then will dumpster the price just to get quick sales, you know what I mean? But looking at this, if we compare the prices on Draenor, let's do a comparison between Draenor and, let's say, the global minimums. Arbitrage mode. So these are US prices. US prices right now. US prices are still 1.5 mil, 1.3, 1.3. These haven't really budged. And these are the absolute US cheapest prices. If we do the same, but for an EU realm, the absolute cheapest prices in the EU, they're still holding strong at about 1 million gold for the mounts. The price will probably start going up on Season 3's release, but the sell rate will decrease. I suspect so, yeah. It will switch into like just long tail mode at that point, where those that are still willing to go out and farm them will still be getting a supply of them. But the sell rate's not that bad. I do worry that the TSM data on it's a bit scuffed. But when you look at the sell rates on these, for mounts in general, they're above average, especially for something that costs so much gold. 0.03218 on the asset advocator. This one doesn't sell very well at all by the looks of things. 0.63 on the innovation investigator. It's no surprise to me that this has the highest sell rate. It's the one that is the most unique looking mount. It's the rocket mount, but just black instead of pink. But they're now kind of in the category of like, you know, they have a sell rate similar to that of like World Drop, Epic, Transmog, you know, that they're not going to sell all that often. 42 on the Mechano for 33, 20, 34, 19, 20. Yeah, even the pets aren't. The pets seem to be declining in terms of sale rate as well. And considering the region average daily sold is exactly the same as the sale rate number, that's an indication to me that we still don't really have enough sales data for these numbers to really matter all that much. So I don't think we can really use them too efficiently. But today, the average sale price of a Mechanica is still above 50k, still above 50k gold, but the trick is actually selling them. I've got one of everything for sale and still have like 25 of them or something like that just knocking about in my bags. Or I might have put them in the war bank now actually. But I currently, now admittedly I'm only listing them on one realm, but I have more than enough. I have spare Mechanicas, 28 Mechanicas lying about. I wanted to keep sort of 25 on reserve so that if I sell a mount, I can instantly buy it again and relist it. Anything above 25, I will start just ad hoc buying pets, I think, and spreading them out a bit. I think players are getting bored of the season. My transmog selling has gone up. Bored people tend to spend more gold when there's not much to do. Yeah, it's interesting that, you know, that the interest in transmog seems to increase when there is less going on in the actual game. I also wonder how much of a circle jerk it is with the transmog. Are you finding that you're selling a lot of the stuff that is potentially nerfed? We're talking old Silithus farms, saltstone sets, this sort of thing. You finding are you finding is there a correlation between what's now seemingly selling and stuff that is potentially a touch more difficult to actually go out and farm for these days? I don't know. One thing I do need to do is do I need to do any delves this week? Oh my god, I've only done one delve this week as well. This long weekend has broken me. Let's go do a quick 11 whilst we're prospecting in the background. The Undermine pets and mounts have netted me slightly over 2 gold caps, so I'm happy. I mean, if you've cashed in 20 mil on those already, you're absolutely killing it. You've made more than I have, I think, so far off those. I think this is the account. Have I got Journalator on here? No, I haven't got Journalator on. I think I've sold like 4 of the mounts and a handful of the different pets. I can't quite remember. But it certainly hasn't totaled up to 2 gold caps so far. Go full screen for this. Put the Jawn Crafters in the background. This needs to be an 11. Hard to tell. I'm kind of selling all items. Crafted items are selling nicely. The farmed ones also there. There are good days and bad days. I need to, with my desire to slam the Mechanica farm as hard every day, one thing I do need to do is get all of these characters on the different realms, like 20, 30-ish items that they can be listing on all of the realms. And the very obvious starting approach for me is like some pets and some crafted transmog. Since I have the patterns readily available on so many crafters, and I have some relatively rare patterns, crafting up 50 of each item and just distributing it out and then selling them for like 3 times crafting cost or something minimum would be a good way to get a few things to actually sell. Get me into the habit of logging on to each of the characters and doing an auction scan on each one. You know, building that routine is more important than necessarily having too much profit come through it right now. But yeah, that's something I wanted to take a little bit of a look into in a bit. As like I said, Boofy has this new tool available called Flipping Pal that I've said to him I'll have a look at and probably do a video on at some point. Just bring some attention to it. It is a paid for tool because the man wants to make a living, and fair play to him on that one. But I would compare it against things like the Undermined Journal and Saddlebags Exchange as equivalent ways of doing similar stuff, but we'll have a little look. Hashtag not sponsored, but you know, I said I'd do. I said I'd have a look at it all the same. I've realised I don't care about the underwater ones anymore because Noggin Fogger Elixir is BIS. You know, skeletons don't need air, so it actually works out that I couldn't care less whether it's an underwater one or not anymore, which is kind of cool. It's 2. Pull all of this like in one go, I reckon. Let's not go overboard because it is an 11 and I'm clearly not paying that much attention to what's going on. I don't really need to pick up these curios anymore. I used to pick these up only for Bran experience, but my Bran's 80 these days. 3 resonance crystals is not that attractive to me. Will we get some Dastardly Duos content? Yeah, just like we do a few visions here, there and everywhere, we'll be doing some Dastardly Duo stuff for sure. One of the big reasons for me of keeping these 5 accounts up and running and spending a bit of time getting some characters on them that can do things in the background is so that I can feel... So I'm more free to do like the actual game content on my main while still being sort of productive in the background. You know, we've got 2 jewel crafters prospecting right now, for example, whilst we're just running and doing a delve. So it's yeah, we'll do some Dastardly Duo stuff for sure. Is that this week? Does that come out? Does that come out on Wednesday? I need to have a little look into that. I don't really know what it is. It's basically just killing 2 bosses at once, right? I don't really know. I never looked at it on the PTR. Far too busy killing rares in the Undermine for that sort of stuff. How about thousands of the Burning Crusade time walking dungeons? Well, that is quite high on my priority list. Getting all of my mid-level 70 characters up to 80 is using the Burning Crusade time walking dungeons is kind of a high priority. So there's a good chance we'll be doing a lot of that this week. So Dastardly Duos might take a back seat temporarily because TBC time walking only comes around once in a while. Kind of feels weirdly, it kind of feels a little bit like a Super Squirt day, but a Super Squirt week for my characters, not my pets, if you know what I mean. Really good opportunity to level them all up to 80. And I'm pretty sure there'll be some reason and some use for nearly 100 level 80 characters, so... You can get the rare and the epic recipes that tend to sell for a nice amount of gold, so don't sleep on those whilst leveling alts as well. That's true. Yeah, the Burning Crusade is an absolute nightmare of an expansion for rare recipes. For those collectors out there. I mean, even my main character, for example, still has like 3, maybe 4 leatherworking recipes that I need to get from the Sunwell even. Like, and as annoying as it sounds, I need to just do flipping 10 runs of the Sunwell once a day just to like get those last few recipes. That didn't really go to plan, did it? Now I've attracted a Kraken. Where do these little crabs keep coming from? Twilight Devastation doesn't really do a lot these days, does it? I took Twilight Dev because it's the fun option. But the reality is it just tickles the mobs. It doesn't even do anything fancy. Come on, Bran, keep me alive. Bran do Bran things. I'm pretty sure I told you when picking Twilight Dev. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know mathematically it's not the right choice, but I was like, well, when it procs, if we're in range, it'll delete things, and that's kind of fun. But the reality is it didn't even flip in. It procced, and it didn't even show up on my damage bar. It didn't even show us like, oh, I don't know. All right, it did like 3 million damage. It did the equivalent of about 2 seconds worth of damage. Back in BFA, like, it would proc and it would just delete everything in front of you. Whereas now it's like barely ends up on the chart. So good job on good job on optimizing the fun out of the game, Blizzard. Appreciate that. Well done. Yeah, it did 5% of my damage. Nobody gets excited about a proc that does 5% of your damage. There's not a lot to get excited about there, is there? Hang on, I'm about to not be a... There we go. I mean, like, now it could do a proc-in when we've actually got a few mobs in front of us. Also, never forget the atrocious acquisition. Well, it's kind of a byproduct of just doing visions, isn't it? I still got a few things to do in the Orgrimmar visions actually this week. If we can keep our other accounts busy doing some prospecting, we might do a little bit more of that. Oh, cock, I've missed one. Where have I missed it? Is that a seam? Oh my god, they do exist. A bismuth seam. Soak it in, boys and girls. You may never see one again. Sheesh. Imagine having a rotation of corruptions on a vendor. Never understood that. Yeah, I mean it's a good showcase, isn't it? Right, and I absolutely refuse to get into the rant about time gating visions this morning, but it's a really good indication to show that Blizzard just don't ever learn. Right, they were told way back in the day, back in BFA, that the time gating in that mode was gross, and that nobody really liked it. Everybody would have much preferred to have access to both Stormwind and Orgrimmar, and not had a stupid rotation vendor for the corruptions. Everybody told them that. That was pretty universal an opinion, that the game mode would have been far better received if they hadn't done all the time gating bullshit in it. And so they made it again, and they added all the time gating bullshit in it again. But, you know, it's a fun side hustle. Right, let's nuke this dude. 100 mil health? That seems very low for an endgame boss. An end delve boss, sorry. So much so that I might not bother doing the ads. I might just delete the dude. Or does he get a massive damage reduction or something? Oh, immune to stuff. Seemed like a very low amount of health for a boss, whatever. Oh, we should go look at the trading post. I've seen via the grapevine that there's some pretty interesting rewards on the trading post this month. Funky, flying, flamey dragony thing. Some rune crests, some more rune crests, a big old box of goodies, more rune crests, more undercoins. There's my gilded stash. Let's open this up. Not that we need anything out of it, but there's gilded in there, so yoink. Cash monies, cash monies, cash monies. Right, let's peace out. Trading post, June trading post is actually good. Should we go and have a little look? Should go and have a little browse, a peruse. Where is it? It's down here, isn't it? What we got in the box? Bunch of tendies. What we got? What we got? Oh, what the hell is this? Cold Flame Chimera. During the War of the Elemental Lords, Chimera were often used as beasts of burden for the Fire Lord's most loyal lieutenants. It's like, oh, well, that's actually kind of cool, isn't it? And then a Cold Flame set to go with. Some spiky shoulders and funky helm and whatever. Leviathan set. Whoa! I'm not a mod kind of guy, but that set kind of slaps, doesn't it? That's actually pretty cool. And then a goat. And then yet another goat mount. Okay. Arcano Stone Great Helm. Yo! That's actually pretty cool. And then a Molten Inferno equip. Oh, I mean the Molten one is clearly the win there, isn't it? It's clearly the win. Hades Helm. We got some fiery weapons. Polearm. Voidy version of it. Cold Flame Chopper. Couple of axes, one-handed axes. Some Pokeboys. Fire and ice Pokeboys. I can't be the only one that's slightly disappointed by the fact that there still looks like there's about 3 pixels on these. Red flame burners. I mean, they're kind of cool. They are kind of cool, but what happened to Blizzard doing high resolution textures? Like, really? Why did 75 by 75 pixel skins be a thing? It's still in 2025. Okay. Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood's cape. Some, what are we looking at here? Some random shit I definitely don't care about. What's returning? The Tropical Beachwear Ensemble is returning this month. If you didn't pick this up. Neither of which I was that fussed of way back in the day. The beach chairs made a return. The Pride beach chair, of course. A little pet dude and the pearlescent goblin wave shredder is back. We picked those up back in the day. Now we are still freezing the pearlescent butterfly for March apparently. But it doesn't look like we're going to have enough traders tender for everything in the first place. This Cold Flame dude, he kind of slaps. I feel it hard to not buy this one. Oh, hang on. What's the big monthly journey fella? Isn't that the same one, but like the fire dude? Hang on. Hang on. Where's the flipping thing for it? Where's the button? Where's the button? Here we go. Yeah, the molten one, look. Oh, okay. Now, questions. If we get the molten one, do we really need the reskin cold version? Because the fire version clearly slaps much harder. That's seriously cool. Buy the fire Mog set. Oh, I'm not wasting tendies on Mog and when there's mounts available, unfortunately. With a fire mount set, it would be nice. True. Time to check my cross-realm profits. Last time it was 11 mil profit. Yo. That's good going, Dirt. It's good going. Welcome in, Jack. How we doing? Welcome. Well, if we plan to get this by the end of the month regardless, that does mean that we can... How many traders tendies are we still expecting? What was the button? There's 750 traders tender still to be acquired this month, on top of what I already have right now. So we'll end up with like 1,600, give or take. So we can afford to get this. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to make decisions, aren't we? Because annoyingly, that set is actually pretty badass. That's a pretty badass set, you know. But it's 550 traders tender. Maybe we hang fire on buying this and see what we do by the time we've collected all of the monthly stuff. But this is probably pretty cool for 700 points. But it is just a reskin of the fire one. And of the two, I'm more likely to use the fire one. But, you know, collections is what collections is. There's no pets this month. No pets. 2 mounts. 3 mounts, technically. 1 that you can earn for free. 700, 1,025 for the 2 mounts here. There is, but you already bought it. Yeah, there's these ones that have come. Yeah, I suppose these ones that have returned. Marlock that's returned. And the Wave Shredder that's returned. But we've already got those. Okay. We might have enough for everything I actually want. I think getting this and getting the 2 mounts is 1,000. Which I've basically got anyway. I'm what? Let's say 100 short. So we got 650 to spend somewhere else. Not quite enough to unfreeze our pearlescent butterfly, but enough to buy the Cornflame battle gear if we, or the Lavaborn battle plate gear if we want. Alright, we might actually have enough traders tender to get all of the stuff I want. This stuff I couldn't care less about. But that will take our tendies down to 0. Okay. Yeah, there's actually some interesting stuff in there this month, which makes a change. Nice little change. And there's a green one in the shop as well. Wait, what? Oh God. So there's three versions of that thing. No, that's the 12-month deal. Shard infused something or other. Bundles. Blazing pack. Oh yeah, there's a fell one. The Emerald Inferno pack. So you can spend $30 on the green set if you want to go green. Lord. Okay. So there's actually 3 variations of this. Okay. I historically try to avoid buying the stuff from the shop. You'll notice that most of the mounts from the shop, even though I have more gold than cents, I still have almost refused to buy these. out of semi-protest for their existence even. Some of them I have acquired somehow, presumably because they were once upon a time part of like the epic edition of the expansion or something. Like the wormy dude was for pre-ordering Dragonflight, I think. I still, to this day, don't have squeakers, even though it's one of my favourite mounts in the entire game. I think squeakers is one of the coolest mounts in the entire game, and it infuriates me that it's only available through the store. But I still have refused to buy it. Pets, on the other hand, I have bought some of these, but quite a few of these have actually been gifted to me. Which is why I have some of them, but not all of them. Even things like the Grizzly Hill Packmaster, for example, I don't actually own. Wait, it's $20 here. But can you buy it separately for like... Oh, okay. They do price it at $20 here. I was like, are they charging $25 for the pet by itself and then with a transmog set? Cheaper. Anyway, let's not promote the store overly. Right. What did I say I was going to do? I need to kill some rare. I really do need to do some rare farming in the Undermine, but... Actually, if these dudes finish their adventure, what did we make over here? 5k. Give or take 5k on prospecting over here. And give or take 7k on this dude. That was some bonus cash monies for the lols. Let's get this stuff listed. The gems as they currently stand are actually slightly above market rates right now, which is fine. That means I will sell the gems right now, as they are slightly above market rates. Same with the glittering glass. I've actually noticed ore in general starting to rise in value, and I can't safely determine why that is. I'm weirdly going to not sell my pebbles right now, I think. I actually, thinking about it, they equate to 300 gold. It makes no difference, just get rid of them. What are we saying on this? This is a little bit under 803,000 crushed gem dust. Shit the bed. That's quite a wall there, eh? That is quite a wall. I wonder how many people own this wall. I wonder how many people are a part of this. I wonder if that's a wall that's going to disappear on reset day because it's predominantly owned by 1 or 2 whales. Can I do a little searcheroo? No, if I do it via TSM, actually, if I do a search via TSM, it might give me a little bit more info to who owns that wall. No, it's not going to pull information on who owns the wall. But I suspect there's quite many people that are in this wall. Because, out of curiosity, 803,554 at, how much is it? 63 gold? Multiplied by 63 gold. That's a casual 50 million gold worth of crushed gemstones there. Holy! That's a 50 million gold wall right there. Serious business. Right, well, we'll stack ours. We'll stack ours in the wall as well, why not? Right, get that stuff sold. That means these dudes can also log out. Doesn't look like we're doing any more prospecting today. Prices are a bit weird and wacky. Yeah, that's crashing. That price is unsustainable. Hang on, what are we looking at? Total quantity. See, there has been these spikes previously, but not for quite a while. But that is an absolutely outrageous quantity that's lurking. Unsustainable numbers. And quite interestingly, looking at the time in which it's turned up, it predominantly turned up. A somewhat normal amount of it was lurking. And then between the hours of 3, there seems to be 3 significant time slots where all of that turned up in just outrageous numbers, which weirdly does make me think that it might be in the hands, there could quite easily be somebody here that posted it that has 200,000 of it. 200,000 turned up between 3 and 4 a.m. Then trickles in. Or every hour it seems to increase by like 50,000. No change here. Yeah, it seemed to, between 9 and 10 a.m. was when it was finally finished posting. But yeah, between 3 and 4 a.m. it jumped by 200,000, which makes me think that it could be in the hands of just one person. Bottom of the chart gives the clearest picture. The volume has been trending up since April. Yeah, quantity of it stacking up, price of it slowly declining. Is a strong indication that it's a bubble that will go boom at some point. It's a bubble that might pop. Spikiness, I agree, indicates that 1 or 2 people are holding the majority of it. Yeah, the fact that it goes from like a seemingly normal-ish amount to just astronomical amounts of it very quickly. 240,000 of it up to 588. And then again from like 250,000 of it, boom, up to like 700,000 of it. This is a bubble that's going to burst. These spikes are indicative of somebody that's posting it in absolutely astronomical numbers for 12 hours, maybe 24 hours, and then it's expiring, and all of their stock is coming off the market as quick as it was put on. Yeah, this tends to indicate there's a couple of people that are holding most of this, which is very dangerous. Very dangerous. But like I said, it also means that this is such a significant wall that ain't nobody posting past this. You'd be absolutely mental to post in this price range right now. But the handful of people that control this basically have the ability to reset the price whenever they want. So come like reset day on Wednesday, they could take all of this off and then post it at like 120 gold a piece and reset the entire market. And then, if they sell 10, 15% of that at the high price on reset day, then they can crash it back down, control the price for the rest of the week, and then put it back up again for reset day. You're right, the posting fees on that is going to be bananas. But that's pretty wild. Interesting. Right. since I don't have a huge amount going on with these bonus characters right now, what I might take a little bit of a look at is this flipping pal tool, because I've been meaning to take a little bit of a look at this for a while, as a way to start getting some of these characters some stuff to sell on each individual realm. And I wanted to test out just how it works. So this is hashtag not sponsored, but Boofy was kind enough to request that I have a look at it. Where's it gone? Do I even have a... I don't even have a link to it, do I? Flipping pal. No. Homepage. Let me sign in. I don't know what the sign in tool says. Yeah. Docs is my email address. Let's log in. Question is it worth it? I doubt it. Well, there comes a point where whoever's holding the bag on that dust is going to want to get the gold out of it. That's the thing. That's the point of it being a bubble. But it will burst when the small number, 2 or 3 people who are holding most of the bag choose for it to burst. They could very easily turn around at any given point and put 800,000 in at like 50 gold just to try and get rid of like as much of it as they can. And that will just absolutely nuke any profitability for prospecting for as long as it takes them to sell through that stock. This has even changed since I last looked at it. Okay, let me go through the configuration on this again then. EU, I will be willing to buy, and I will then sell anywhere. What I probably want to do with this actually is try and create, because there's a TSM list generator that I've not played with. Let me log a few dudes on. Pick a realm that they're on, and then let's see if we can use Flipping Pound to try and highlight any deals that might be going on that realm. I will also, yes, remove the Russian realms. So let's pick a realm. Sanguino. So let's take Sanguino as a realm. Let's see if we can use Flipping Pounds to see if there's any deals going on Sanguino. So update buying realms, remove all realms from buying realms, and we should be able to select Sanguino, which is also paired with these realms. We will sell anywhere, remove all Russian realms from selling realms, and then save that. Settings saved. Now let's see, what's the difference between the cross-realm flipping tool and the TSM list generator? Let's try TSM list generator. So what we should now hopefully get is a semi-curated list or a curatable list of stuff that's going on Sanguino that we could buy and move it other places. This is something that, in my scenario, will aggressively limit how much I would use this tool, though. This loading needs to be faster, because that was the best part of a minute to load the data. And if it takes me a minute to load the data and I try and do this for like a bunch of realms, that's also going to be a problem. But let's take a look at the filters we got here. Filter by sell rate, filter by sale average, filter by the region market value, or filter by the region historical. So let's have a little look here. Sell rates, average sale price, market value, historical. So what do we got on here? This is a lot of clearly raid BOEs that are probably potentially purchasable. They have a Midnight Lounge Cummerbund, for example, is showing 10% sale rate. Sells on average for 130k with a region market value of 50k and a region historical of 70. This is where I think tools like this cause confusion, because that's clearly merging all data from Midnight Lounge Cummerbunds, which are going to have a wide range of item levels and so a wide range of prices and sale prices. So you've got to be slightly careful with this sort of stuff. So much so that filtering out armor or filtering out current expansion BOEs, which we know are super volatile. Can we do that? I'm interestingly going to deselect the War Within. That will get rid of the War Within BOEs, raid BOEs, which are highly volatile, but might showcase other interesting deals. A lot of classic stuff going on here. We could say that we only want to buy things that have a sale average of like 5,000 gold. Like if we can't resell it for more than 5k, I'm not too bothered about buying it to flip. So let's see. Do we want to adjust the sale rate a little bit? We probably want the sale rate to be at least 0.01. We don't want to have to spend all the time in the world. So adjust the sale rate a little bit, adjust the sale average, and then filter by region market average. So we want things only... Why would we choose to... We would probably want to make sure that the region average price... We also probably want this at about 10k, don't we? To make sure that the items are not super duper mega, that there's just one random accidental sale that's caused chaos. And we also don't want things that have changed in value all that much over that period of time either. So setting the historical and the market value to a similar number will remove anything that's been hyper inflated in value in the short term. So now it's starting to be a slightly more curated list. And this, in theory, should be just for this one realm. That's an indication you can buy stuff on this realm to then take it somewhere else, or even just to flip it. Vial of the Sands, mount, good sale rate, average sell price. It doesn't show... It's not showing the price. Okay, well, let's just copy that. Copy TSM string. Does that now mean... I'm learning as we go here, by the way. Does this now mean we can go TSM Is this going to be a separate group import? Let me, new profile, flipping. Groups, import group, that string. One group, 460 items. So the imported group has got all of those things in it. So that's now basically what we use as our shopping scan. We go browse, and we go imported group, and we do a shopping scan on that. And that should pull all of the items from here. Now, it might take a minute to do that because it was 460 items, equally meaning that we probably want to tone down the search a little bit more, but Boofy actually does a good breakdown vid on the site, but it's pretty long. I should probably watch it, shouldn't I? Then we also probably need to figure out some custom operations for all of this. It seems to have, okay, this is probably TSM batching a bunch of, this number will go bonk in a minute. I also have the issue that I don't have TSM tracking data on every single realm. I don't know the implications of trying to do that. I know you need TSM Premium to track more than like 10 realms. I don't know if I will burn TSM into the ground by telling it to track data on every single realm. But it's definitely pulling in a lot of stuff that I really don't care about so far. A lot of pets and stuff. Considering how TSM works these days, it might well overload and burn your computer. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, if I tell my TSM to pull in data for every single server, although it is information that would be useful, it would be very useful to be able to log on to any single realm at any point and have the price data for that realm available. Makes me sad. TSM used to be a fantastic add-on. It's weird, right? Because in some scenarios, it's still really good. At some things, it's still absolutely god tier. But there's no denying it. It's not the powerhouse add-on it used to be anymore. It does a couple of things very, very well, but there are significantly better options for an awful lot of things these days. Whereas it used to just be TSM was just best in slot for everything. I'd recommend doing some multiple different imports, to be honest, grouped into item types, as you may want different buying strings for different groups. Yeah. This is where pulling it all in one go. I just wanted to see the functionality of pulling in TSM groups on the fly. But yeah, you would want to curate a few different shopping operations for certain different things. You're going to want to treat pets differently to recipes, differently to transmog, that sort of thing, eventually. Why is Discord not in streamer mode? Hang on, let me change that. Boofy, chill with the DMs for a minute. Why is my Discord not in streamer mode all of a sudden? Streamer mode. Why did that not automatically enable? Oh, nice one. Um, I'll um, I'll share that out. Okay, cool. Thanks, Booth. So equally, we'll hang on. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on here. Is the scan finished? The scan's finished. Okay, so now a we've pulled in a big old category. We initially filtered it just for the realm that we're currently on. We put a little bit of configuration into the kind of stuff we might want to filter out. You can actually go deeper into this and select different sections, which is probably the better way of doing it than pulling it all in into one group, mostly because that one group actually pulled in like nearly 500 items, and there's bits of everything in here, right? So there's pets, there's pets, there's toys, there's transmog, there's all sorts of stuff, of which you'd probably want to do a search in a slightly more sophisticated way when you do. But, for example, on this one single realm, it's found like, I don't know, a crazy carrot is listed at 8k. The region sale average is only 6k, so that's still probably not the best of deals. But if I was also on TSM to... If I was also to tell TSM to track data for every single server, I'd get region market averages and stuff in this. Is it maybe that I just don't have the tooltips set up on this account, maybe? Inventory full, market value and trend, historical price, region market value and trend. Yeah, I've not set up my tooltips in TSM. You don't need the realm data to buy based on regional sale average or regional market average. Yeah, very true. Very true. It's just whether I want that local realms data or not. If I set the tooltips up properly, it would make more sense. I really shouldn't have closed the window, should I? Let me curate that list a little bit more. So let me delete that for a minute. Let's take this list initially, and let's pull in different things. So let's deselect everything to begin with. Let's say we just want to look at transmog to flip. We can select armor, boom. Then that's brought the list down a little bit more substantially. Then we can copy the string there. Now we can import. Now it's only 65 items, for example. Armor. It's at this point, if we had some pre-made operations that were a little bit more fancy. So this is like your basic search of items that might be worthwhile picking up on this realm. A list of 65 is already more manageable. Now when it comes to actually finding stuff I might want to buy to flip, we could make a custom operation based upon the regional sale average, for example. So ebony proto cloak cosmetic, regional market average value is 22,000 gold. Historically only really sells for 6,500 gold. But could still easily be bought for 10k, relisted elsewhere for somewhere in the region 22. Enchanted thorium breastplate, to my knowledge, is a crafted item. But the same scenario has a regional sale average of about 9,000 gold. But the regional market average is about 34, so easy to buy this, take this somewhere else, or even just flip it on the same realm. At 10k, could be flipped up to significantly higher a price. So it's kind of nice how you can quite quickly and structured. You still got to. This isn't going to do all of the work for you, at least not via this route. It doesn't look like, but if you combo this with a couple of fancy TSM, they don't even need to be fancy. For example, let's say we just say with our let's make a operation here, shopping operation. This doesn't need to be anything outrageous. So we could say a flipping of transmog. We could then have the shopping scan be maximum auction price, a percentage of. Why is that killed it? We're just putting a percentage number in there. A percentage of the sale average, DB region sale average. I think that's the code for DB region sale average. And we could set like 80%. So we're only looking for cheap shit. Now, it's completely broken here. That's probably because I got the auction house window open at the same time. Oh, I'm going to have to do a reload either way. Let's try that again. Shopping operation, 80% DB region sale average. You could obviously make it significantly more sophisticated than this, but it goes to show that you can do it pretty basic. This will, and when we set it to show auctions over maximum price anyway, it will still show them in the list. Then when we import an armor group, for example, we quickly attach that operation to it, and then we run our scan. Browse, armor, shopping scan. Now the percentage column, we can filter by the percentage column, so it will put the bargains, the real deals at the top of the list. And so we can see on this server, even though these are items that are good things to potentially look at, this server doesn't have the best of the best flipping opportunities on the prices. But these are still good items to pay attention to, in that they do fit your criteria of that they sell reasonably well. They actually have sales data, which on a lot of transmog is quite important. That for them to actually have sales data means that some of them have sold recently somewhere, which is always a plus point. This is why only focusing on things like region market prices is bad mojo, because it doesn't matter what people list shit for if it doesn't sell. So the fact that there even is sale average data for these items is kind of like a good starting point. Replica Dark Mantle Tunic, for example, has a sale average of 14,000 gold. It's listed on this server for 17, so probably not something you'd be too willing to buy. But the regional market average is about 50k, and there is at least some sales data on them. Now, considering this is the only one on this realm, you could also simultaneously very quickly buy this and just flip it on exactly the same server, for example. Just relist it on exactly the same server since it's the only one. And you, in theory, do this across a whole bunch of different realms so that you at least have some stuff. And then you can start eventually, once you've got some stock, doing clever things like moving it from one place to another. But I definitely think that this is a tool that I clearly need to have a little bit more of a play with it and just try and tweak it and tune it to how I like it. But the configuration seems to be pretty good. And being able to pull in a TSM string that you can quickly paste and slap an operation against is kind of nice. There is also another part of this that is instead of... Oh, wait, hang on. Instead of using the TSM strings, there is just the straight cross-realm flipping option. Cross-realm flipping tool. This gives you more on-screen information and gives you auctionator shopping lists instead of TSM shopping lists. But with, by the looks of things, more data, more filtration. So we could say if we're, let's put similar numbers in here. Seller rate of anything less than 0.01, we just straight up don't care about. It's got to sell for at least 5k, because there's no point buying stuff that flips for like 50 gold. Who cares? So now on this one, we can see the sale average for the items, suggested locations to take the items to sell them, and then the sale average versus your buy price. So like, let's also take out Dragonflight, because that's only going to show us all the current raid BOEs. No, it's not Dragonflight anymore, is it? It's the War Within. So this then falls into the category of more transmoggy stuff. Recurve Bow of the Strands. BFA, it's a rare item. Has a sale average of nearly 12k. And I can buy it on my current shard of Sanguino for about 3,000 gold apiece. And then it gives a suggested location to take it to sell it, which is an astronomical price. So we probably wouldn't go that far, but even just buying this on the current one. Total items found 12. So let's just take that shopping list. Oh, that's cool. Copy list. Shopping, import, list, import, go. If I can add something, seller rate and prices are all well and good, but don't forget to check the appearance lists. For example, an item with a unique appearance will have a higher seller rate chance than an item that has, let's say, 3 or 4 shared appearances. True, absolutely. This is what often filters out those items naturally, is the fact that there might be regional, market value. There might be a region-wide market value prices, but then there's no sales data, which is an indication that nobody ever buys them. I like clicking on the sale average versus the buy column to find the best deals. So where you have, let's close that for a minute. So the sale average versus buy. So this then makes that recurve bow one of the better deals, showcasing that it's really listed quite cheaply on the realm that we've selected. And then there's a lot of opportunity there for taking it somewhere else and listing it and selling it for more, up to 300% potentially. So what that translates to in game, why did this search not do much search? For example, where did the bow go? No results found. Equally, quite possible that people have already snagged the good deals, right? That's the concept with this. I should also point out that my data on this is nearly an hour old, because Flipping Pal's only going to pull the data from the Blizzard API. So in actually 4 minutes time, we'll get a new update of data, which will then present more options. The best of the best deals have probably already been snagged, and hence they hence that's not there. Or maybe editing out the maximum buyout on there. No, the recurved bow of the strands just doesn't appear to be there. Yeah, somebody must have clearly snagged that one already. Here's my vision of the auction house. Everything is going to become region-wide. However, we won't be able to buy crafted gear anymore because it will become region-wide orders. Now, maybe this is also going to be for other crafted items, including consumables. Crafted items only through orders region-wide, and everything else on the auction house region-wide. I'm still relatively convinced that there will be a day where they will merge all of absolutely everything together, yes. I was more convinced that that was a high priority before we got warbands. Now that we have warbands, you can kind of facilitate taking your gold to another realm to buy something if it's cheap. But it's still kind of a bit of an elite market because there's nothing in game that allows you to search other servers. An absolute game changer would be if Blizzard gave you the ability to search all, like, you know how Undermine Exchange now has this arbitrage mode. If Blizzard were to do the same, if Blizzard were to integrate to the default auction house an arbitrage mode search, so that I could in-game say I'm looking for battle pets that I don't own, you know, uncollected only, do a search, but also not just see the price of the pets on my realm, but be told that you can buy this pet on another realm, but you need to create, you know. If Blizzard integrated that internally, that would be an absolute game changer. But as it stands, you basically can only see what's going on your realm. So it's still weirdly kind of a goblin thing to even know that other realms have other prices for stuff. The auction house needs so much work, in my opinion. The filters are terrible. Yeah, a lot of it is just the current expansion only is one of the best things they've added to the auction house in recent days. But yeah, the limitations here are very slim in the default auction house. Do I not own a chest amount? There's actually lots of cheap pets I should probably be buying up, shouldn't I, really? But that's a topic for another day. Let me build filter by expansion, potentially, yeah. This topic makes me happy to watch. It's my home turf. Yeah, cross-realm flipping, it's kind of one of those things that I, like, many, many years ago, I got into it. But I never really kept up with it all that much. But without question, it's the only way in the game right now where you can make, should we call it fuck you gold? Like, it's the only way in which you can make so much gold that you don't care about gold anymore. It's still the upper echelon of gold making, but it requires so much more time and effort than a lot of other things. But once it's front loaded time and effort, buying the deals, buying the stuff that you know in 12 months time is going to be worth 2 or 3 times more is the way you do it. What's left that isn't region wide at the moment? Pets, mounts, gears, recipes. Yeah, pretty much they're the big categories. But you forget that, like, that one category, gear, all armor and all weapons, which probably accounts for like 80% of the entire auction house anyway, if you exclude basic mats. We're thinking about making a pop-up that will analyze the items and give some extra info like trends, the average time to sell, market volumes, etc. That would be handy. That'd be handy. I would be very careful. I'd be very careful with information overload. I think there's a fine line between giving people more information and making it simplistic enough that people know what to do with that information. You know, I can look at this, and I'm sure many of you guys in chat right now know what all of these columns mean and know what all these columns reference. But I equally think that there's a lot of stuff that some people are going to look at this and go, well, that's too much like hard work. Now pass. Now, obviously, cross-realm flipping and arbitrage is not necessarily an entry-level goal-making activity anyway. But even if it's, you know, something along the lines of I can't see the ability to do it here, but I would even maybe consider getting rid of some of the columns by default, allowing, have item name, keep it, by default, have very basic, very straightforward, the item name, the buy price, and maybe where you buy it and where you sell it. But turn off most of this by default, but let players like myself who understand it all and want that information, let them turn it back on, if that makes sense. Because I know a lot of people would go, whoa, no. No, too much like hard work. No. Equally, things like the quality column, for example, is one of those, it's you either want this column or you don't. I'm the kind of person that probably doesn't want this column and would quite happily turn this off. The expansion is also one that I'd quite happily turn off to just cut down the amount of info on screen. Some people might want it, some people might not want it, but being able to toggle these on and off would be a smart addition, I think. Next update imminent. Page reload is happening soon. Do I need to implement that? Or is it going to do it automatically? Oh, it's doing it automatically. Maybe this will happen automatically. Something or other. Luckily, it did it at exactly the time I asked the question, but others might be frantically pressing the refresh button, which probably screws up the data. Right, so let's have a little look now. Let's grab that initial list and go get auctionator shopping list, copy. Delete that list, import. Did I not copy it? What have I done? Oh, I ballsed it. Oh, I've killed it. It's killed it dead. Importing that list has killed it dead. Oh boy. That was clearly not a flipping pal issue. That's clearly my computer going crazy issue. Have I killed that account? Oh dear. Are we effing, by the way? No, we're not. We're still alive. Oh, thinking about it. There we go. It just took a while. I'm going to do a quick reload before we try that again. Let's try that again. Shopping. No. Close. Import. Oh no. It is something about importing that list. That's clearly a monster of something's weird there. Pretty sure you just imported a big list. It does appear as if it's just a big old list, eh? Oh, yeah, that's a casual 5,000 items. Oh! Oh! Oh, it's removed my filters. That's why. It's removed my filters with the refresh. I was not expecting it to do that. Let's not import that then. I didn't realise it had reset my filters with the refresh. Well, that's already curated it a little bit, but not by as much. Has it checked? Yeah, okay. We need to undo that one. I don't want all the raid BOEs because they're more difficult to deal with. Now we're looking at 445 results. Surely we can filter that a little bit more. Filter by profit. Drop a 0 on the end of that. Should make the list a bit smaller. Not by much. Actually increasing the sell rate by a little bit will make a world of difference to the amount of items. 142. That's better. We can make it save the filters on reload in the future. Yeah, I mean, that would be critical in my mind. Since that's that tripped me up. I didn't even realise it had undone my filters. So the best deals, sale average versus buy price. Some of the best deals we're looking at right now. 12k for a rocket fist on this realm, of which could be sold on average for 23,000 gold. Can be taken many a place. Good sale rate. So it's finished its full search here. So even though this big old list has imported, these are the only things it's actually found. Enchanted Thorium breastplate, we spoke about that one a minute ago. Flipper fish. Farouth's guillotine. 433,000 gold. Regional sale average of 364k on this thing. Is that thing just... My god, that thing still sells? Sheesh. 364,000 gold on a regional sale average on that. Christ alive. Damn, son. Sold like 4 of them. Holy. That's wild. Okay. I still think that for the single realm purchase, I need to reconsider my filters a little bit. Same scenario, we probably want to pay a little bit more attention to the categories. Deselect all, just weapons and armor to begin with. Just focus on the MOG. Just focusing on the MOG, it's only finding like 29 items that match our criteria. But why are we finding... Ah, okay. It's starting to make sense here. Because I would be questioning, why would you spend 200k on a pair of Cole Walker sandals? But it's because they've been monstrously inflated to 2.2 million somewhere else. But this is where your sale average versus the buy price column's really important, because you absolutely don't want to pay anywhere near that. But it goes to show on this realm, the best deals are still not really great, because you're not going to find great deals on every realm. Obviously, there's not always a bargain. But if I can now use this to can I now quickly and easily go back to the configurer and say to change the buy realm, remove all realms, and then quickly select another realm. Say, for example, we're not here. We're here. Because I'm theoretically going to be doing this 4 realms at a time. Varuth, it's a bit of a bitch to farm though. Surely there's hyper spawns in Zereth Mortis, right? Surely. So Silver Moon. Can I also be quite clever about this? Could I say Sanguino, Silver Moon? Could I actually do 4 realms at once with this? Ragnaros. And then Thunderhorn. Could I select those 4 shards together? Save that. I think for me personally, the TSM list generator is the best option. If you're savvy with TSM, this feels like the better way of doing it rather than the cross-realm flipping tool. Because you can have... I can use the TSM operations to filter out what I don't need to see. But I just need a roughly curated list in the first place. So if I was to have... these guys set up with... So let me do a test little shopping. %, DB region, sale average. I only want to buy things that are below the minimum price. Like I said, there's a lot of me speaking what I'm thinking today, and not a lot of it will make perfect sense. This is by no means a guide, but is me figuring shit out as we go along. So we now should have that operation on all realms. Meaning, if I select the 4 realms at the same time, then slap in our filters, like let's say 0.1, a sale average of at least 5k. Oh, hang on. No. I personally want to ignore the war within. No, we don't. 600 items. We're going to have to do it a few different ways. We're going to do weapons and armor first, which is clearly the vast majority, I reckon, 200 items. So I can then quickly copy that string for those 4 realms. Groups, import you there, put the operation on it, shopping, flipping basic. Then we run the shopping scan. And whilst that's scanning, we do the same on this realm. We import the same list. We attach the same operation to it. And we set it going. And in theory, by the time that this is done for the 4 realms, the first realm should have its search results done. So now we can go back here, and now our max price, we can say an honourable combatant bow of the quick blade is listed on this realm for 4,500 gold, where its regional sale average is 10,000 gold, and there is at least some sales data for it. And if nothing else, it's the only one on this realm, so that would be something that's worth buying on this realm. Everything else we probably don't want to pay attention to on this realm specifically, because like I said, you're not finding deals everywhere. Now, what I haven't done is given any of these characters like some seed money to actually be buying anything right now. But then when we look over here, we can start to see there's some, on this realm, there's some better bargains to be had. Dread leather shoulder guards, regional market, value of 21k, but a sale average of 11. We can pick this up for 3,000 gold on this realm. And we can quickly go in and have a look and see that even if we're just flipping it on the same realm, somebody's clearly bored of trying to list it, so they're trying to lowball it for a quick sale. And there's a few more deals to be had on this realm. And then over here, there's a couple of deals that are worthwhile on this realm. Okay. And then a couple of deals here. This is quite a smooth process, I think, once you get into the swing of things. If I were you, I'd select all the realms that you have the tunes on in the config page. Then on the flipping tool page, select one realm at a time. This way the deals are based on the best deals. This way the deals are based off the best deals on all the realms, not just say the one realm you're adding to the config. But then you filter it to only show the realms that you're on. Let me read that again. Select all the realms you have to. Well, I have tunes on every realm. What I was doing in the tool was narrowing down. Top level filtration was being done here, where I was saying I would buy items, update buying realms, and the only realms I selected were the 4 realms I was currently logged on to. So I was basically narrowing it down from a top level to only buy stuff from these realms. And then I was just importing the same list to these 4 realms, just because it's easier to do than making 4 individual lists. But I'm still having it selected to sell everywhere. Although short term, I won't be selling. I won't actually be spreading stuff out. I'll just be flipping on individual realms. But so this is what I did first. I select, because I have a little weak aura that tells me which realm that character's on. So Sanguino, Silvermoon, Ragnaros, and Thunderhorn are the 4 servers I'm searching now. And so I selected those in here. I did the search for them, and I selected these in here. So these are my buy realms for this pass. In other words, rather than it just showing the reasonable deals, like that it would only show the region's best deals. Yeah, I mean, if I was really looking to just cherry pick, the absolute bargains and find where the absolute bargains are, yes, I'd select every realm. I would probably do that once an hour to scan the very best deals and then actually just log on the characters that are on those realms and buy those exact deals. But I'm thinking for when I'm doing the Mechanica farm for these dudes, that I can select the 4 realms, pull in an average list, not the best list, but an average list that's already pre-filtered just to those 4 realms, to try and find some more localized flips rather than the absolute cream of the crop. Is the way I was looking at it to begin with. Just remember that transmog sells slowly. Oh yeah, I should also clarify, I'm absolutely in no way, shape or form looking for this to be super profitable very quickly. I'm just trying to make sure that every single character on every single realm has some stuff. Because I'm at the point where there's absolutely no point these characters doing auction house work just now, because they don't have like anything to particularly sell. You need 10, 15, 20 items to make it worthwhile you actually logging on and reposting stuff. Truth be told, I probably won't be like buying and flipping too much stuff on these realms short term. Short term, it's probably going to be me crafting a bunch of stuff and spreading it out that way to get that first 10 or 15 things that makes it worthwhile logging on and relisting on each of the realms, so that you can start getting that trickle of stuff coming through. This is just more of a optimization for when we want to hunt down bargains, you know. But the TLDR is that this little flipping pal tool is quite useful. Now that you can pull in TSM strings, and now that you can pull in auctionator strings, it definitely has its value. I will probably play with it a little bit for a while, and I'll play with it for a little while and see what the crack is with it. If you guys want to have a little poke around with it, Boofy has actually just given me a code that you guys can try it out for free for the first month. So let me share that with you. So you can, it's a $4.99 a month tool by default. But I think if you use code Mantheus, you get the first one for free. Let me just double check that. What did he say? Yeah, if you use code Mantheus, you can get the first month for free. So if you want to try this out, let me give you a link. This is not sponsored in any way. This is just me helping Boofy out. So you can give this a little go at the moment if you wish. I think it's quite clever. There's a big old 40-minute video here that I should probably actually sit through and watch just so that I understand it in a little bit more detail. This was kind of my first glance at it more than anything else. But I already can see how I can get quite good use out of this. Now, for complete transparency, it is probably worth comparing against things like the Undermine exchange, which can do similar things, but instead of, it doesn't seem to be as, this, for example, is not as filterable, but the arbitrage mode is equally very useful for cherry picking those top deals, for example. But you need to know, with something like the Undermine exchange, you actually need to know what you're looking for in the first place. Whereas Flipping Pal is going to do a reasonably good job of pointing you in the right direction of stuff that's probably at least worth considering. You can always then cross-reference if you want more details with things like the Undermine exchange, I reckon. Using them in combination is probably the play, to be honest. There's also Saddlebags exchange, which I'm not as familiar with personally. I haven't used it as much myself, but people keep telling me it's very good and I should also look at that. So there's the options there. But it definitely means I can integrate this quite quickly and easily into when we log on to these tunes to do the Mechanica farm. They can get given a rough list of 100 items to do a search on. The logic is here is I could be on my main right now, running around killing the rares, getting the Mechanicas, grouping up and ungrouping on these teams, whilst they've also got their shopping scans on the go, looking for deals. There's a little bit more work on my end to set this up. I should give them I should give every one of these characters some seed money to buy some stuff with. I don't know, 100k on each character or something, just so they got some gold to buy some items when they pop up cheap. Sleet Guard War Boots, for example, has a regional sale average of nearly 10,000 gold for some reason. Regional sale average of 10,000 gold, currently listed on this realm for 5,000 gold, but there is 2 sets of them, so I'd probably need to buy out both. And there is at least some sales data. But yeah, some seed money on each of these accounts. Oh god, the numbers get ridiculous pretty quickly, doesn't it? Even if I give 100,000 gold to every one of these characters, 80 plus characters, that's like nearly 10 million gold just as seed money. Whoops. Okay, that's quite a lot of gold to distribute about, but I can do that with Warband Miser. I reckon I can set these characters to just always have 100k gold and deposit the rest in the war bank automatically. You sound like a sugar daddy for the bankrolls. Also, the TV's off. I know the TV's off. I'm a bad human. But yeah, this is interesting. I still have a bit of legwork to do to get these characters actually to the point where they can use this properly, but the TLDR is it's quite cool. It's quite cool, and I definitely need to use it more. And as of so far, it's been configurable enough that it does mostly what I'd want it to do as well, which is cool. Works for EU, works for US. Yeah, I need to watch the main video in a bit more detail, but it's all good. Pack B, welcome in. Good morning, good morning. In other words, good job, Boofy. Well done. I like this so far. I like it. It's pretty clever. I will play with it more. Maybe after a few weeks of using it and we've got a few things purchased, a few things flipped, a few things sold, I'll have a few success stories that will maybe prove the point. It's conceptually, it looks pretty good. I can definitely see some use for it. That said, I need to go and actually kill some rares. Once I've got my bearings with it in a little bit more detail and don't sound like a moron whilst working through it, I'll do a little video on it at some point because it's quite clever. It's quite clever. Right, let's Flyboy is up. We need to kill some rares. The one thing about flipping generally is there's way more sort of just experience counts for a lot when it comes to flipping, because you will have some wins from time to time and you'll have some absolutely stinky losses, but it's a little bit of practice will help you more easily spot the wins and spot the stinkers. Is Mythic Plus broken this week? I just did a plus 12 and the affix didn't seem to be working. I'm the wrong one to ask, but chat might have a better idea. I need to go do another delve, actually. I need to go do another 11. Let's get some rares killed first, though. This team needs Flywall. Flywall seems to be up on a couple of these shards. Let's head up to Flyboy land. Oh, literally, as I do that, tally spawns as well. People are still farming this like hard, you know. The market research farm is still real. I'm wondering, you know, how much people are farming market research as a way to get Mechanicas, because I can't really imagine that there's a huge demand for people to be farming market research just for the rep still. But the fact I'm seeing groups killing this, like literally genociding this entire zone so frequently, it means there must be a steady amount of people that are using it as a Mechanica farm still. Because you only need one account to do it, and you're getting a Mechanica every hour or so. So either 25 hours worth of farming for one of the mounts, which can still be cashed in for about 1 million gold right now. Or alternatively, every 4 to 5 hours you can get a pet. They have to be, the drop rate's very high. I've not done the exact maths, but I vaguely remember you can get about 1,000 market research an hour. And I'm sure if you're in a proper 2x4 group with some reasonably high DPS, you can push that number even further. Now you need 2,000 market research to get a box, but that box can contain 1 to 2 Mechanicas, so I would imagine with a bit of consistent effort, it's not that bad use of your time, really. But whereas I can do this mechanical farm at any point in the day, if you're doing 2x4 farming for market research, you're probably subject to finding 7 other people that also want to do it at the same time, which might not always be possible. Actually, yeah, with Dark Moon on, it's 10% faster as well, isn't it? That's a really good point. No junk wall, no Grimewick on any of these 4 shards. I say any of these 4 shards. 3 of these dudes are on the same shard. That's not ideal. All right, let's go check VV and VV and Candy. Maybe grab a chief kill if we can. VV, Candy, group up. I need to remember that I need to stand quite close to the rares for if Twilight Devastation does proc. It might only be doing about 5% of my DPS when it does proc, but every little helps. Like now, for example. Yeah, I'm not. Monday is actually usually a day I open mailboxes, and I'm not even really convinced they're worth opening because I haven't done this since Wednesday. So I'm not even convinced there's really anything in these guys' mailboxes. Yeah, there's not a lot in there. Although I can see 2 Mechanicas in there, actually. I can see 2 Mechanicas just on this dude. Maybe they are kind of worth opening. Monday's usually the day I would open all the mailboxes. But there's probably only 2, maybe 3 days worth of farming in them. No chief on any of these realms either.
Is that yours?
Okay.
Yeah.
No point lurking on shards with nothing on them. Let's move everybody home. One final check if there's anything around the hotel. Or we'll log this team off and move on to the next one. How are you doing, Ginny? Welcome in. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good weekend. There's a garbage dude up on this realm. If we can get to that quick enough. Oh, now the junk wall spawns. Of course he does. Oh, flipping hell. Okay, we can't leave things. Can't leave things unkilled. Getting pretty disheartened with the farm. 0 sales to date, but got a Crimson Mechasaur sale for nearly $1 mil last night. I'm mostly looking at it from a more long-term perspective now. I think the early bird sales are mostly dried up now. We're kind of in the category of, it's a high-value item that is going to act much like transmog. And it probably won't be until I've got like 10 mounts and 10 pets, like, up most places, that it will really start seeing consistent sales with it. But it's the same concept of that. I'm actually very tempted at this point to just set a 60-minute timer and just go do it like literally one day, literally 1 hour blast a day. See how many teams I can get through during that period. See how many rare kills I can get, but like literally devote nothing more than an hour a day. It still only takes me about an hour and a half to do the whole thing through all of the teams, but that's with quite a lot of strong focus on it at the time, which I don't mind doing. But yeah, it's actually selling the things is getting slightly challenging, even if you're posting them at remarkably competitive rates. So we'll see. We'll see. The fact that you can do it for as long or as little time, or the fact that I've now got it set up so that if I choose to only spend an hour on it, that hour can be really, really, really profitable in terms of value anyway. Stacking the account value up nicely. And personally, it's just a good way to... It's been a good way so far for me to profitably set up 5 accounts and properly set up having characters on every single server, which is something that I've been meaning to do for flipping ages, but it was always going to cost me 5 accounts and cost me 5 subscriptions and cost me gold consistently until I got them all set up with cross-realm flipping and stuff. But at least this way it basically pays for itself, at least in account-wide value, while I'm doing the other stuff, you know. And it's nicely leveled up a whole bunch of characters. We're getting from 70 to 80 with very little effort so far. Now, I am still going to absolutely abuse TBC time walking when it turns up on Wednesday, but we'll abuse the crap out of that while it's about. Maybe get all these dudes to level 80. Is it true that Asmon's going to stream on Kick as well? I see no see, it's a streamer of his size. I see absolutely no reason why you wouldn't. It still absolutely blows my mind, other than from the pure morality standpoint of that Kick is sus, to say the least. You know, anything that's predominantly funded by gambling is kind of a, you know, bit of a touchy subject. But, you know, you have to also consider a streamer of his size. He's kind of mental for not streaming there. I mean, he's also clearly... His moral compass is also clearly not as aligned as some other people these days anyway. And the reality is that there's an aspect of the fact that streaming is something that you should probably cash in on as much as you possibly can, because it's not going to last forever. And somebody like Asmon, who's or Zach, his while he doesn't particularly care about the money, if he can make so much money in the next 5 years with his streaming that he can basically never have to worry about money for the rest of his life again, then that's an opportunity I think you'd be pretty foolish not to take. I bet they're paying him a lot. I don't even think they are. I don't even think they are, or would need to. I think anybody that's got 5,000 plus concurrents on Twitch, if you can if you can swallow the fact that Kick is a relatively questionable company in the first place, if you're willing to bypass the fact that their entire company is funded by gambling, you can why wouldn't you double your monthly income? I don't think that Kick has really got long legs, though. I think Kick is going to go the same route as like Mixer, for example, because there will come a point where it's just the irony with Kick is that they're going to have the exact same problem that Mixer had, and that Twitch is desperately working through right now. They're going to have exactly the same problem, that it doesn't cost a lot for them to do what they're doing now because there's not that many people on the platform. But if Kick does grow, their costs will grow exponentially. And there'll come a point where they can't afford, even with all of the gambling money, that they won't be able to afford longevity on the platform. Twitch being the predominant streaming platform, even in the last few years, trying to clean up its act, doing so questionably, has very clearly had teething issues with its growth. Hence why in the last few years, Twitch has been doing everything in its power to sell more ad space, to incentivize more people to sub and to use bits and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm sure it's relatively common knowledge by now, but Kick runs off Amazon Web Video. So Amazon doesn't care because they make money either way. And the irony of all ironies is the more successful Kick gets, the more money that Amazon makes, which is the company that owns Twitch. So Twitch is probably more secure Twitch is more secure the bigger Kick gets. But it's an odd situation all around. Kick has no viewership at all. They need big names, but Twitch is Twitch. It will always be the primary, just like Google in search engines and YouTube's for video. Yeah, I've said the same thing about YouTube for years and years and years. Like, at the press of a button, YouTube could just claim, like, it's not outside of YouTube's possibility to turn around and basically claim the entire live streaming market. The reality is they don't want to, because YouTube doesn't want to take on the liability that is live content, particularly. It has its foot in the door because it is a stream of revenue, but it's clearly not a stream of revenue Google/YouTube has ever considered that's worth chasing after, because otherwise they would have done it, They'll have a piece of the pie because big business is all about market share. But YouTube doesn't particularly care about streaming because it understands the legality issues that come along with live content. Twitch is just a company that is happy to completely ignore the legalities, but that'll catch up with them eventually. Microsoft couldn't do it with Mixer. Microsoft weren't able to do it legitimately with Mixer. That it got to the point that even as Mixer was technically growing, it got past the point where they could sustainably grow because the costs of growth explode. No, bring him over this way, please. Let's see if we actually get credit for this kill. Kick's top live categories, slots and casino. Yeah. It's somewhere where streamers can go and get a bag. Oh, a Mechanica. They can go probably make a bunch of cash real fast if you're so inclined to ignore where that money comes from. You can make a bunch of money real quick, but the legitimacy of it is quite questionable.
Interesting.
But at the end of the day, everybody has a price. A friend works at Stake, also known as Kick. When you say go stream, people think Twitch, YouTube, social medias, but not Kick. He's paid really good there, but I don't see them outgrowing Twitch. No chance. Well, they won't, because they will never have lower costs than Twitch, right? That's the fundamental issue with Kick. They will never, ever, 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 ever have lower costs than Twitch. They will always have significantly higher costs than Twitch, which means the only way they could ever possibly overtake Twitch is if they somehow manage to generate more revenue than Twitch is able to do. Because their costs are equal or less, equal or more, should I say, than Twitch's always will be. Because when the owner of your company is the company that provides the service of streaming the video in the first place, Twitch will always get the better deal. Because Amazon have a vested interest in Twitch doing the best. But if Kick want to come along and give Amazon a boatload of money every month, they're not going to say no. It's kind of a flawed business model from the word go, which means it is always, 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 regardless of how big or how popular it gets, going to have to be supplemented by gambling money or venture capitalists, whichever. It's a business model that cannot possibly scale and cannot feasibly succeed unless they're able to pull something out the bag that nobody else, not Twitch or Google, has been able to do, which is make money from it. So from a streamer's perspective, you've almost got no reason to not go stream over there right now, because it's whilst both Stake and Kick themselves are willing to throw money at a problem, you might as well take a paycheck from it. But I would not suggest it's smart to, build your brand around a Kick live stream, because there will come a day where it just disappears and it will just turn off like that, right? There'll come a day where, where the money won't continue being pumped into it, and it will just, much like Mixer, just turn off and it will be gone. Is multi-streaming, is it a big thing? I only see a few multi-streamers and they're not big streamers. I think with the very large people, it's probably got more to do with the fact that they have contracts, custom contracts saying that they can't. I think if you're a 5K plus sort of concurrent viewer streamer, you probably have a custom deal. Now, I know these platforms, both YouTube and Twitch, try to claim that those don't exist, but they absolutely do. There's probably non-disclosure agreements part of the contracts. But I would strongly believe that the reason why the biggest of the biggest don't multi-stream is because they're under some sort of contract still to not do it. But if you are a big streamer and you're not under a contract, I think you probably should be doing it. Twitch only eased on their exclusivity like a year ago, so people are transitioning into multi-streaming. Sure, yeah, this is also a big thing, right? Like, you got to remember, like, if you're a 4-5k viewer, Andy, you're already taking home 6 figures a year anyway. The reality is that those people are quite slow to shift into any new changes. You know, if you're already taking home 6k, do you really need to like push that much and change into trying to do a multi-stream thing? No, not really. It's people who are trying to make that full-time living off streaming in the first place that are far more incentivized to spread themselves out quickly. Right, is that everybody killed we can kill on this team? It looks like it. Sony lost to Epic Games in some sort of lawsuit. I heard this is a good thing. Sony and Google were trying to monopolize something. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Kit could start their own streaming servers. They could lower their own costs. No risk of contract strangling.